All right, 7 o'clock. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Michael Samuel. I'm the field service rep for the southern region of Gensco, which covers Oregon and Southwest Washington. We're going to talk about AHRI ratings today. AHRI ratings are something that we see get overlooked a lot. And this goes across the board. I don't care what size company or whatever happens, is that it has a huge effect on how your equipment's going to work for your customer, for your dealers. So let's take a look at aspects of this. Let's look at the who, the what, the when, the where, the why, and the how. There's a lot to AHRI. There's a lot that gets overlooked, and there's a lot more importance to it than I think people realize. So let's start with the who. Who is AHRI? AHRI is the Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration Institute. Okay, so that's what that stands for. That's what the acronym is for. But what are they? Well, AHRI is a trade association, and what they do is they represent all the different heating and cooling manufacturers out there, and helping get a rating to prove that they are doing what they're doing. So that way, when you get a 15 SEER from one brand, it's the same efficiency as a 15 SEER from another brand. When one brand says it can put out 36,000 BTUs, they're going to verify that, validate that. So when you cross that over to another brand trying to get 36,000 BTUs, you can prove it by this AHRI rating. They ensure consistent performance and quality, efficiencies, capacity. That's what they do. They're a third party. They don't work for any one single brand. They associate with every brand out there, and every brand has to go through AHRI to get rated to prove their efficiency, to prove their capacity, and their performance. So that's what they do. When do you need an AHRI rating? Well, in my opinion, and I think most people understand this as we go through this today, AHRI ratings should be looked up prior to ordering your equipment. So before you go and place an order for equipment, you should be searching and looking through your AHRI ratings and getting the equipment that matches what you need. Now, to know what you need first, you should be doing a heat load calculation. Get your heat load calc. You're going to see as we go through this today, we're going to go do some examples of looking up AHRI ratings. Not all units, not all combinations are going to produce the same amount of BTUs. Not all units, not all 13 SEER ACs are going to be 13 SEER efficiency. Some might be more, some could be less. It's very important that we get that AHRI rating, because if there is a certain specific efficiency rating that you need for a rebate and you don't have an AHRI rating to prove it, well, then it's not going to achieve that or qualify for that rebate. And if you have a certain capacity in the house that is requiring a certain BTU load and you do not get an AHRI rating, and I'll show you some very prime examples today, that you may have a equipment that is not able to achieve the heating or cooling capacity that the house requires. So it's very important that we look up this AHRI before we order equipment. Once we know our heat load calc, so we know what the house requires, we know what the space requires. Before we go and pick equipment, we should go look through and see what equipment can achieve what we need. Simply put, where do you go? We have lots of options, which makes it great. You can go to ahridirectory.org. We'll go there today. I'll show you how to look up there. Gensco customer, we have all of our products listed on there. Every product that is sold through Gensco, we can look up the AHRI rating on Gensco customer. We're going to do that today. AS DealerNet or Train Comfort Site, these are the two, the American Standard dealer portal or the Train dealer portal. They also have it. We'll see all three different ways of doing it, all three different websites. Some you might find easier than others. Some you might find really confusing. You don't like to use it. So we'll look at the options you have, go through them and show you how to use them, show you how to look up a rating. We'll do the same rating through three different ways, and you can kind of pick which way works best for you. So why do we need an AHRI rating? Well, like I said, it's going to give you certain information. You're going to give you a matched indoor model. So if you know your outdoor unit you want, then you can get the matched indoor unit to work efficiently and correctly with that. It's going to give you your CFM rating. How much airflow do I need to hit these ratings? It'll tell you that in your AHRI rating. Your cooling capacity, your sensible capacity, your heating capacity, all that. So how much are we going to get out of this equipment at different outdoor temperatures, right? So if it's 5 degrees, 17 degrees, 47 degrees, 95 degrees, how much heating and cooling are we going to get out of this equipment? All of that is listed in your AHRI rating. Now maybe we need a certain efficiency rating, your SEER2, your EER2, your HSPF2. It's going to give you all those efficiency ratings that you might need to qualify for rebates or incentives, tax incentives. In certain jurisdictions, certain areas require minimum efficiencies. Well, your AHRI is going to give you those efficiencies. And last but not least, it's going to give you your COP. If you have a heat pump, we need to know what kind of efficiency we're getting at your COP on a heat pump is going to be really critical for explaining to a homeowner why it's better to go with this heat pump over electric heat. As we go through these, looking up these ratings, we're going to see little abbreviations, little acronyms attached to some of the matches. They all have a meaning. They are all required to achieve that match. So in this case, we're going to look at just some of these right here, and there might be some other ones that pop up, but RP, it says RP, that's referring to a relay panel. So a relay panel will be used to have a non-communicating furnace work with a communicating thermostat. TDR stands for time delay relay. That's built into most modern thermostats, but if you're using an old mercury bulb thermostat, there's not a time delay relay on that, and so that would not qualify. You would not hit your efficiency rating if you had a mercury bulb thermostat that the homeowner insisted they kept. Well, they're not going to hit that efficiency anymore. DF, UF, these are pretty simple in a downflow position or upflow position, because sometimes the position of the air handler or coil will affect your efficiency rating because it's going to affect your airflow. So it's very important that we see this. If it does have it defined as DF or UF for that specific AHRI rating, your air handler or furnace has to be in that position to get that rating. TXV, pretty simple, thermal expansion valve. If you're getting a TXV, that means we cannot be getting that efficiency rating with a piston coil. So if you have a piston coil and it says TXV, that means you must change out the piston for a TXV to get that efficiency rating. Coming down here a little bit more, RT, that means it's going to be in a right flow, airflow blowing to the right. LT, airflow going to the left. Sometimes it might just say horizontal, HRZ or HORIZ. That just means horizontal left or right. So keep going down. There's compressor controls, a link relay panel. There's a lot of things. There's even more than this. These are just some of the more common ones that can be on here to help achieve specific efficiency ratings. This is a new one. This is the newest one right here. You might see one that says plus T-stat. And of course, every system needs a thermostat, right? Well, this is being very specific to this setup on this piece of equipment. It would be specific to a single stage unit in this case, requiring a 2-stage thermostat. So in this case, the thermostat at a low call for heat or cool, if it's a heat pump, or cooling if it's just an AC, would just run in a lower fan speed, first stage blower, and then on a higher call for cool, it would stage up and go to a higher fan speed. All the while, the outdoor unit would be running at a single stage. It would always be constant, just one single stage with the indoor fan ramping up and down. And it's not going to have a huge effect on efficiency. The system's going to function, it's going to work, it's going to heat and cool without a 2-stage stat. But what's going to happen here is you could lose a 0.1 efficiency. I'm using the wrong pointer. Let's use a laser pointer. There we go. So that single stage versus 2-stage indoor blower could be a 0.1 difference in their SEER2. And sometimes that means a 15.1 becomes a 15.2 SEER2. That may seem minor, but if your minimum efficiency to hit a tax rebate is 15.2 and you're at 15.1, then you don't qualify. And it will not qualify for those tax incentives and rebates. So it's very important that if we do have these acronyms attached, that we are using them, because That is the only way to achieve the desired efficiency ratings that we are asking for. So let's get out of here and let's do a couple of these and we'll show you how it's done. By the way, if you guys have questions, please throw it up in chat. I am watching chat and we'll take a look at that as that goes. I'm going to change my viewing here. We're going to jump over to this screen. There we go. Should be able to see the website now, and this is Comfort Site. We also have Gensco Customer, and we have AHRI. So let's start with Gensco Customer. From Gensco Customer, this is logged in. Here's the home screen. We're going to go up to Product Resources here on the top bar. And you can pick from American Standard, Mitsubishi, Train. If you click on it, it will then populate up another screen here that's going to pop up right now as I should be right. There it is. Pops up this screen. It'll download and open up a Excel spreadsheet, which has everything that we have on Gensco in our system that we can populate. Now, this is going to be active units. In other words, things that are being sold through Gensco currently. If it's 10 years old, it won't be on here. But if it's active, it'll be on here. Now, as we look around the screen, there's a lot going on. It gets overwhelming sometimes the first time you look at it, to be honest. But you're going to pick American Standard or Train. And if you pick, in this case, I picked Train. You're going to look at the top here. It's a protected view. It won't let you go and do any searches on it. So you're going to want to, first things first, enable editing up here at the top. A lot of times people forget to enable editing. They can't figure out why they can't do anything. So I clicked on that. That enabled editing prompt went away, and now I can go through here and make changes. So then you're going to find, do I want to look at the bottom here? You've got several tabs across the bottom. Do I want a heat pump? Do I want an AC? Do I want a mix of both? Do we want a run true? So you've got all the Train and run true unit products down here. We're going to look up a heat pump. Now it's got on the left-hand side here, it's got all your AHRI numbers. Okay, well, first we got to pick our equipment. And simplest way for me to do this is I'm going to go through my outdoor units here. I'm going to pick an outdoor unit. Let's just pick a nice fancy, I'm going to unselect all. So I only have the one I'm looking for. And I'm going to scroll down and find a unit that I want to look up. In this case, let's look up a 20 SEER variable speed heat pump. That is, let's go with like a 5-ton. Let me see here. There we go. So I got a 4 TWV 0x60. I hit that one, put the check next to that one, hit OK. Now here's all my different combinations, all my indoor units, indoor coil combinations I can have. There's a bunch of them. Well, sometimes there's too much. So let's narrow it down. So I'll click on the little checkbox here, unselect all, and now I can select all the different indoor coils I want to match up with it or air handlers. Let's say I want to go with an air handler combination. What are my air handler options? So I'm going to click all the air handler options. Then I can go back and look at these. Hit select. There they are. Narrows it down. Really nice thing about this, once we've narrowed it down, we can see that, oh, it gives us our cooling capacity at 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Look, 54, 54, 54,000, 53, 53, 52, 51. So as you see, we're not getting the same capacity, even though the outdoor unit is unchanged, depending on your indoor coil combination. So that changes things dramatically sometimes. If you need that extra little push of capacity, you're not going to have it. Your efficiency ratings, your EER2 and your SEER2, here's these numbers. Notice they're not all the same. Some are 12 EER2, some are 17.5. Your SEER2, 19, 18.5, 19.5. So they're different. They're not all the same. A lot of people, this is a big misunderstanding by a lot of people. They don't realize that they're not all going to be equal. Your HSPF2, what's your heating? 8.5, 8.2, 8.7. Still different. um, Energy Star, all those kind of efficiency ratings. Tax eligibility credit, that's going to tell you here. That's one thing that we have on Gensco customer that you may not get on other ways of looking it up. Heating capacity at 5 degrees, heating COP at 5 degrees, heating capacity at 17 degrees. It's really great. It gives you a lot of information at a quick glance that now that we have our options here, we knew we wanted to go with an air handler, we can pick the one that is going to work best for our specific application. And that was a 450, 410A. I want to look up a 454B. Let me look up a 5. Let's get rid of that one. We'll try it again with the, well, wow, look at that. It's not in here for some reason. Well, some of our stuff might need to be updated. Good thing we're looking at this. Make a note. So that, I'm going to close this. I'm not going to save it. Get rid of that. That's where we would look it up on Gensco Customer. Now let's go back to the website. All right, we're back to the website here. So that would be Gensco Customer. It's an Excel spreadsheet to look it up. We go to Comfort Site. On Comfort Site, we're going to go on the top bar here. We have all these options. Second from the right is going to be Product Info. There's more than one way to do it, and I'll show you a couple ways here. On Product Info, you can scroll down to Performance Data and Ratings Utility. And from here, you pick current ratings or archive ratings. Now, current ratings are going to be our equipment that is currently in production, currently for sale, currently on the shelves, okay? That is our current ratings. Ratings archive are going to be units that were on the shelf in the last 3 years. After that, it drops off here. So if you're looking for a 20-year-old system, it's not going to be on here. It's not going to be on Gensco. That's something we might have to reach out because that stuff does not stay even on AHRI for that long. There's just too much data. And so that's something if it's a really old system, we might have to look it up a different way. We'll reach out to the factory. They have some archives that are not listed online. But in this case, current ratings. Now we have a list of all the outdoor equipment we can choose from. As you can see, this is every current unit that they have for train and run true products. If we were to go with that same unit, that 4 TWV 0X 5 ton, so you pick your model number, the first 5 digits, you pick your tonnage, at the bottom you're going to have a search button. We've talked with the factory about putting a search button at the top. They actually mean to do that because that's going to make things a lot easier. A lot less confusing. Hit search. Now you can see I have 2 options that popped up here, not one, because there are still somewhere in the world a couple copies of the 4 TWV 0060, but we're going to look at the 0X60, which is what we looked up on Gensco Customer. Now here, once I clicked on that, it shows me all the options and they're separated. The top section here is air handlers. The bottom section is coils with a furnace. And as you can see, as I scroll down, there are a lot of combinations. So specific combinations that are matching a specific coil with a specific furnace. As you change those combinations, you will change your capacity, your efficiency, all that can change as you change your furnace because you're getting different airflow, different blower speeds, different blower efficiencies. Also, as you change your coil, you're going to get better airflow across some coils. You change and you go to, as you'll notice, every single one of these just about is going to have plus RP or plus TDR, relay panel, time delay relay, depending on what your matched combination is. One thing we did not look at the acronyms. You're going to see this one here at the very top has a T. T stands for the tested combination they did at the factory. Okay, that's the one they put in a lab, turned it on, and ran it and got these numbers. The rest of them are computer simulations, just FYI. They are not putting every single one of these hundreds of combinations turned on in the lab and testing them. They are basing it off of computer models. As you can see here, we also get the CFM here. We were not seeing that on the Gensco customer option. But you get your CFM. So this is interesting to some people because I get this call from the tech services side. They say, hey, I am running this 5-ton unit and I'm only getting 1500 CFM. And I say, yes, I understand that. That's okay. Because on this variable speed unit, we may not be running under normal operation at 2000 CFM because it's a variable speed unit. Now, when we are doing things like checking the charge and setting our airflow, we got to set it for 400 CFM per ton. Doesn't mean that this unit's going to run at that. That's what it's set up for a program to be charged at, not what it's necessarily going to run at. Going over, we still have our cooling capacity, just like you saw before, sensible capacity, like you saw before, heating capacity, HSPF2, COP, all these numbers are in here. And as we go down, some of these coil with the furnace combinations might get even higher capacity out of them. Some might get lower. I see some as low as 50,000 BTUs out of a 5-ton unit. That's 10,000 BTUs less than maybe what someone might expect if they're just buying a unit and putting it in and not doing a heat load calc and not looking up an AHRI. You could get half a ton or even up to a ton difference in capacity of a unit depending on your AHRI rating. So it's important to look at this stuff up. It's very, very critical. It could really come back to bite you if you don't get an AHRI, and the unit could be producing all the heat that it's supposed to produce, or all the cooling that it's supposed to produce, but not keeping up. Well, if you didn't pay attention to this, there's a reason why. So there we go. So that's our simple, quick way on comfort site. Now we're going to go back to the main site here. There's a second way to do it here. Sometimes people find this easier. Still go to product info. Product info is going to be all of our information about the product. You can go down to product literature. Once you're in product literature, we go to our outdoor units here. And here, we'll scroll down and find our unit. So we're going to go down, should be towards the bottom here, for TWV 0X. If we scroll all the way to the right, there's an option marked ratings. We click on that, brings us up, and we had a 5-ton we want to look up. Click on the 5-ton, brings us right back to the same place. A little more direct, maybe easier to look it up. It's the exact same place we just were, just a different way of getting there. So that's can be very handy if you're more comfortable looking up that. I know that I go to product info and I go down to product literature when I'm trying to look up service facts or installation instructions a lot, or submittals, but you can also get your ratings, which is very handy. All right, so that's how we do comfort site. So now we've gone through Gensco customer, we've gone through comfort site. Let's go to AHRI directory. On AHRI directory, it's a little bit different because they do ratings for everybody, right? So every single unit out there in the world has gone through this at some point. A lot of people get confused. They don't know where to go. They try and put in a model up here on the search. I don't recommend that. What we recommend is down here on the bottom. It says search by product function. So you have to be very specific. We're going to want to pick air conditioners or heat pumps. I know some people have clicked on air conditioner and then try to search for heat pump and comes back with 0 results. Well, come back with 0 results because you're looking under air conditioners for a heat pump. Can't do that, or vice versa. So we've been going through heat pumps. Let's continue to do that right now. Air source heat pumps. We click on that. Brings us up here. You can go through this and do a lot of stuff that people don't really need to do, but you can really be very specific. You can go through by brand and just search by your brand. For the outdoor unit, for the indoor unit, search by refrigerant type. Is it Energy Star certified? Is it IRA tax credit eligibility? Or you can just search by that model number. Let's put in a 4TWV0X60. And there's other things here. Service model only. This is going to become very important as we get into some of these product availability situations. Display records with a furnace only, without a furnace. So you can really get that narrowed down. And if you're looking up an older unit, include discontinued and obsolete records in your search. You hit search, it's going to find what it can find, and it'll bring up all these options. And you can scroll over and see what your indoor unit is. Now, if you want to be more specific, you want to look up just air handlers again. We can't search here by just all air handlers. You have to search by a specific air handler. And so let's look up a TEM8. Hit search, narrows it down. Here's all the TEM8 matches. There's only 5. And so if we scroll over, we can see these are the TEM8 matches. Maybe one of these is going to have the BTU capacity or efficiency ratings you need. And so we're going to go over here and click on that AHRI number. We click on that, it brings us all that information. So your heating capacity at 17 degrees, 5 degrees, excuse me, your cooling capacities down here. So your efficiency, your EAR2, SEER2, HSPF2, all those things, even your older ratings, your SEER ratings, EAR rating, right? HSPF rating, not the 2, the older style. You can see the difference of going from 0.1 static to 0.5 static really changes your efficiency sometimes, and your capacity even. All that is in here. This is also where you would go to download and print out the certificate that you could then attach to the file, or you could even present to your homeowner to show that, yes, this is the capacity you're going to get out of your equipment. You would hit the download certificate and you could print that. But that makes this one, sometimes I find it not to be quite as user-friendly just because it doesn't really, it shows too much almost, and it's all spread out. I don't really prefer this method, but if we were to go into air conditioning on accident, hit 4TWV 0x60 and do a search, you'll find it comes back with no criteria were met because we're under air conditioners now, not heat pumps. People have made this mistake. I'll be honest, I've made this mistake. So it can be very easy to make a mistake here. There's a lot of filters, a lot of ways to search, a lot of options to click on or unclick. And so it's make sure that you are highlighting exactly what you need. If you have an older system you're looking up, you're going to want to click include discontinued and obsolete records in your search, because these are going to be very important for a unit that's no longer in manufacture or for sale. So if it is a older model unit that's 10, 15 years old, it might still be on here. It might not, but I would definitely want to hit the include the discontinued and obsolete record search. So, all right, that is AHRI. It is so much fun to search. It has got a lot of information. Some of your searches, and I'll go back to the, let's go back to here now. Right. Some of these are going to be, so here's the looking at this screen. There's just a lot, and I wanted to bring this back up because there is a lot that's on here. You should know your outdoor unit model number, okay? If you're not sure what your indoor is, or you want to limit it down, maybe you have a specific coil you want to find, or maybe you don't have a specific coil, but you have a specific furnace that's already installed and you want to see what will match up with it. That's a great way of doing it. You'll notice we have filters on here. We can narrow it down that we don't necessarily have on the comfort site. We can't narrow it down by furnace on comfort site. You can on Gensco customer, you can on AHRI, but you can't do that on comfort site. So each of the different ways has advantages and disadvantages to it. And I like that. So if there's a specific indoor furnace we have, I would put that model in here if it's already existing. and I want to put a specific outdoor unit on there, I put that in there. I put in the first 10 digits just to give it, give it the enough information, and then it'll populate all the different coils that would be matched up with it. If you really are important that you need some tax eligibility, that's important to the customer. Put that in there. Make sure we're only using the units that qualify. Um, if you want to make sure we're using just the 454B, we don't get some wrong things. Well, with all of our model numbers, that's built into the model number, so that's not going to be a problem. This is really crazy. This is really critical. This comes up a lot more often than I care to admit. Third-party coils, air handlers, those ratings don't belong to us. Those belong to the third-party manufacturer. So you're going to have to go to their website if they have a search for their AHRI ratings, or go to AHRI. Now, people would then say, Mike, what are you talking about? There's no ratings. You can't put a Trane furnace, or sorry, a Trane or American Standard heat pump with anyone else's product. We don't allow for that. Well, we do. Some of you are very familiar with the Resolute and Quest units. The Resolute and Quest units we have matched up with an Aspen coil. Aspen coils are a third-party coil. You're not going to find that AHRI rating on Comfort Site. You're not going to find that there. You're going to find it on Aspen site. Aspen took the equipment, got it rated with their coil, and submitted it to AHRI. You'll find it on AHRI. You're not going to find it on Comfort Site. There are times where things like that can happen. If you are familiar with working in mobile homes, you'll notice that we use Mortex coils sometimes matched up with the American Standard or Trane outdoor units. These work. They work just fine. But they need to be AHRI rated, and they're not going to be listed on Comfort Site or on AS DealerNet because that is not their coil. So they're not going to display those ratings because they did not qualify those ratings. Mortex got those ratings qualified. Mortex will host those AHRI ratings if they have that, and they will also be on AHRI directory. AHRI directory will have all those ratings. So if you have a specific brand of coil you want to look up on AHRI, you can do that. So you could go into AHRI, set your outdoor unit model number, set the indoor brand to Mortex, and then do a search. And that would give you any Mortex coils that are a match for it. So that can be really handy on AHRI because it's got every match available, and you can search by brand, not just by specific model number. It gives you a little more flexibility. Um, it's very handy. I'll say this, you're not going to have this memorized and down pat until you start using it a little bit. It's actually really handy. It's not that complicated to use. It is pretty straightforward, but it does take some time of getting comfortable with it and familiar with it. Like I said, there's 3 different websites to go to do this. Some of people who are on here may not have a Comfort Site or AS DealerNet login. That's okay. You still have AHRI directory. You still have Gensco customer. All those are available to you. And so that there's lots of ways of looking these up. Now, who would want to look these up? I would say every single job that gets sold, every single installation that is happening, if not a package unit, should be searched for this, just to verify, validate the capacity, the efficiency, that the two are going to match up. If you don't get a match coil, if they don't show up on the list, and what does that mean? That means on an AC, we may not have the capacity. We're probably not going to have the efficiency. So if you may get it to turn on, you may get it to run, and it may put out cold air. But you're not going to be having any known or listed capacity. So you may have a 5-ton unit that is doing 3 tons of cooling. Doesn't seem very efficient. Doesn't seem like a good idea. On a heat pump, we're going to have, you might have a non-matched heat pump. If you do that, you might be one of those situations where our coils, the volume of them is so far off, they're not a match for a reason. And not only do we not have the efficiency, not only do we not have the capacity, but when we go from heat to cool and cool to heat, we have an imbalance in the 2 coil volumes. And so you'll find that you'll be adding refrigerant and removing refrigerant with the seasons because the 2 volumes of coils are so far apart from each other that they can't function in both heating and cooling. And so not only do we have unknown capacity, unknown efficiency, we have an unmatched coil volume. We have our imbalanced coils. And so we'd have to come out and remove and add refrigerant every season, every spring and every fall. Otherwise, it's going to be going up on low pressure and cooling and high pressure and heating. Doesn't sound like a very happy customer or a very happy company who installed that, because now it's a lot more work, and you're ended up tearing out that coil and putting something else in. Uh, I understand there are some limitations, especially with the refrigerant change that's happening right now. All the more critical to make sure you're getting a matched set indoor to outdoor to verify and validate that it's going to work, it's going to function, it's going to produce what you need, and it's not going to have headaches and problems for yourself as a dealer, as an installer, or for the homeowner. Well, that's what we have to talk about AHRI. If you have questions, please go ahead, throw them out. You can put it in chat. If you want to raise your hand, I can, not physically, but in the in the in the Zoom, I can make it so you can talk and we can talk about it. Any questions you guys got?